Hey everyone, I'm Teresa. Welcome back to my channel, Lost My Thread. Today I'm going to be sharing with you everything that I got for Christmas relating to sewing and a little bit of knitting. Now I've been sewing for a while, like over 20 years, so I feel like there's not a huge amount of things that I don't already own for my sewing. But there are always ways that you can upgrade, and there are always new things that come out that you don't realize that you needed or that you would love to have in your life. I thought it would be fun to share with you what I got for Christmas, because whenever it's coming up to Christmas and birthday, I'm always trying to rack my brains about what would I want that I don't already have. And I thought some of you might enjoy seeing what I got so that you can maybe ask for it too. The first thing I want to tell you about is what I would class as Christmas gifts to myself, and that is Christmas advent calendars. So I decided to treat myself to 2 advent calendars this year in December so that I had a little treat every day from the 1st of December leading up till Christmas. I know a lot of you out there in the sewing and knitting community did the same. The first one I'll show you is just the Kylie and the Machine advent calendar. So the Kylie and the Machine, they make sewing labels, and there was lots of really fun ones that I can now just put into all of my me-made garments throughout the year, and to be fair, probably for years to come. I got so many good ones. So that's a nice little treat that I got. The other thing that I treated myself to are some advent calendar yarns. So you get a little mini skein, little 20-gram skein of yarn every day leading up to the month of December. I got a whole variety of these, absolutely glorious colors, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to make with them. Probably going to make a cardigan. I've got another bit of fabric coming through, or another bit of yarn coming through, that I'm going to use as a base color and alternate all those multicolored mini skeins. Going to be such a fun project, and it will make me think about all the joy that I had over the Christmas period. Now I'm going to start with otherwise sewing gifts, because I know not everyone's into the knitting. I think there's more sewing people on my channel, so I'll try and leave the knitting stuff until the end. The sewing gifts that I got, first of all, I got one from my husband just as a stocking stuffer for Christmas, and it was just a small little thing, but it's a really adorable tape measure. So it retracts out as we've got inches and centimeters on there, and you can close it back up, and it's made in this beautiful Liberty fabric, or it's covered in this beautiful Liberty fabric. And we went to Liberty London over December, and so it seemed particularly appropriate, and it's just so pretty. I've got a tape measure, you got a tape measure, but who's got a pretty Liberty tape measure? Not that many people. So it's just that little bit special when I'm measuring myself, measuring things. It just brings me a little bit more joy when I'm doing it. Next up is this needle minder. This is a very small little thing, and it's made by Arrow Mountain, so it's hand carved. It's a magnetic, so the magnet is on the back, the needle holder is on the front. The idea is that you sandwich your fabric between these two, and when you're doing hand sewing, you need to set your hand needle down. You set it down and it will stick to the top of this needle minder. So to my hand for scale, it is quite small, so it doesn't need a big bulk of fabric or anything like that. And I will say, because I hand sew a lot, I lose my needles. I mean, I lose pins and needles pretty frequently. There is one needle that I literally just haven't been able to find, my husband hasn't been able to find, and eventually it'll probably crop up somewhere, maybe when we move house. But this is just such a handy way to keep hold of it. An extra detail is what is engraved on there, and that is the chemical formula for serotonin. Serotonin is the hormone that we release when we're feeling joy and calm and peaceful. All the things that I feel when I'm sewing. I will say that sewing definitely releases a lot of serotonin in my brain. It's a very nice, feel-good kind of thing to do. So it just seemed so perfect to have the serotonin on there. Such a lovely object as well. Next up is my Clover Hot Hemmer. So it's Clover brand Hot Hemmer. I've been seeing these around and thinking, ooh, that would be really handy. Do I really need one? I don't feel like I need it, but I would like it. That is exactly the perfect gift in my mind. Something that you really don't need, but you really want and you would really enjoy and appreciate. So I'm someone, when I am sewing up hems, I will just use my little tiny skinny seam gauge to fold up however much I'm supposed to hem up the seam. I might pin it, or I might just press it as it is, but I will say that that's quite fiddly. It takes ages because you've got all these little tiny little fractions of an inch that you're trying to measure over time. The idea of the hot hemmer is you fold up a big portion of the hem as much as you need to, and then you can press all of that together. But the nice thing about this is there's also ways that you can then fold in like a metered corner You can fold up around a curved corner of, say, a pocket. There's going to be a lot more uses that I don't even know about. But I have to say, I hemmed a dress for my sister-in-law. She got a dress for Christmas that was a little too long for her. And I hemmed it using this, and it was so much easier. It was so much quicker. So I know that this one is going to be super useful. Because it's very thin, you can just fold the fabric over it and it will give you a really accurate measurement of what you're pressing to. So this one's going to come in really handy. Next up is another beautiful object that came in a really lovely pouch. So it's got its own little bag. It came from a shop called Beyond Measure. They do lots of really just beautiful sewing accessories. And this is a very fancy seam ripper. So this is the handle. Can't remember the wood. I will put up what the wood is. It might be birch or cherry. I'm not great with woods, but it's lovely. And it has a little metal tin that opens up and has your seam ripper hook part inside. They recommend that you store it inside that just to keep it safe, because there's not a cover over the top of this, but I can show you what it looks like assembled. So you just twist that on and you've got a really lovely, functional, beautiful seam ripper. What I love the most about it is the size. I will show you compared to my normal one. So most of you have a little seam ripper like the one on the bottom, but when you're trying to hold on to it to actually get some grip and torque to actually cut through a seam, I get hand cramps sometimes, like holding on to that and using it. But this is just like, it's beautiful. It fits right in my hand. It's super ergonomic. It feels like it's going to be a joy to rip my seams. So I know the next time I sew, I'll probably need it because, you know, it's an important tool that I use most every project. And it's just going to be so pleasant and joyful to be able to open up my seams. Such a nice thing to get. The next sewing gift I got, I am calling a sewing gift from work. So I work for an NHS hospital and they wanted to say a big thank you at the end of the year for all of the staff for working hard. It's been a little bit crazy, as I'm sure many of you can appreciate. And they gave us all a voucher to a shop of our choosing so that we could get something as a little thank you. I'm calling it Christmas gift because we got the email around Christmas time. I think they just wanted to be non-denominational, which is why they said it was just an end of year gift. But it felt very much like a Christmas bonus, a Christmas gift to me. And I asked for a voucher for John Lewis because I felt like John Lewis, you can pretty much get anything there. It's a big department store in the UK, but they also sell sewing and knitting accessories. So I thought it seemed like a good way to just make sure that I could definitely get something that I would want. And I ordered some fabric, which has come on the bolt, which is hilarious to me. It's only 2 meters of fabric, but it's on this huge bolt, which is just really funny. But I'm gonna open it up and show you what it looks like. I haven't unwrapped it yet. If you haven't worked it out, this is Liberty fabric. Oh, it's so pretty. Look at the colors on that. Oh, it's just gorgeous. It is pretty sheer. It's their Tana lawn fabric. It's not totally sheer though, so I'm gonna have to see. It would definitely work well for like a top or a blouse. I'm not sure if I might need to wear a slip with a dress or a skirt, but I'm gonna wait and see. Haven't decided what I'm gonna do with this fabric yet. It's their Tana lawn, cotton lawn fabric. I just can't get over the colors. I think it's gonna be so gorgeous to wear. Super excited. I've never worked with Liberty fabric before. It is definitely a pricier fabric. So I've got 2 meters of this. I could definitely make a top or a blouse out of it. I am wondering whether I might try and squeeze a simple sleeveless dress out of it for the summertime, but suggestions always welcome. But I'm so excited to work with it. It feels just absolutely dreamy. I feel like I need to look at Sam Purple Sewing Cloud's Instagram page because she sews with a lot with Liberty fabrics and her stuff she makes is absolutely gorgeous. But I'm really excited to see what I can sew up in this. Gonna be more of a springy, summery kind of a thing, but it's such a special treat to get for now. Now I have one more big sewing gift, but it's a bit too large for me to bring onto the screen, so I'm gonna have to pan the camera over. So I'm gonna just go through my knitting gifts first so I can show those to you quickly. My first knitting gift is a needle gauge. So this helps you to know what size knitting needle that you've got. Sometimes they get rubbed off or they're not always on the knitting needle, so you can check which size hole that it fits into. And then it's got US and millimeter sizes. You also have a little measuring tool on either side, inches and centimeters, if you want to check the gauge of your knitting, just to see that you're doing it the right width or the right tension. And this came from Loop London, and it is just such a beautiful hand-carved object. Always going to enjoy something like that. And then one other knitting thing I got is this book. It is the Knitter's Handy Book of Patterns. It is by Anne Budd. This book came recommended by Sara, who is Sewing Gnome on Instagram and YouTube, and she makes a lot of things from this book. She has said that it's like a really great basic starter. Every knitter should own this book, and it gives you really basic instructions or teaches you how to make really basic garments, things like mittens, hats, scarves, socks, vests, basically the most common things that you would expect to be able to knit. But it shows you how to make it in different sizes. It shows you how to make it your own, which is the key that I thought was really cool. So it's not just like one pattern. It's telling you, well, if you want to add this kind of edge or this kind of design, this is how you do that. So I feel like not only will I learn how to make these basic garments, but I will also learn how to just adapt and adjust and make things a little bit differently and understand knitting at a deeper level. So I am so excited to get tucked into this book. I feel like there's so much that I'm going to learn from it. The last knitting gift I got is probably going to be more of a visual from a video. I'll show you what it looks like, but I don't really know what I'm doing with it yet. I'm going to have a bit of a play around with it at some point, and I will film it because I know it's going to be a lot of fun. It is a skein holder. So inside here is this crazy concertina type thing that attaches to your table, which you put your skeins of yarn onto, that you can then put and attach to a ball winder so that you can make balls of yarn from skeins of yarn. A lot of the beautiful hand spun yarn that I've seen, you can only buy in skeins rather than in balls of yarn. Knitters out there, tell me why. What's with all the skeins when we're all gonna have to then put it into balls? I don't know why they're made like that. They are really pretty in the skeins, but you can't knit with them as is. You're gonna have to roll them into a ball first. I really love using a little ball winder that I have, but to get it from the skein to the ball winder, you have to either prop your yarn on something like the back of a chair or a stool, or a friend's hands if they're willing to hold it like that for you. It's a bit of a faff, and this is going to make it a lot more fun. I mean, it's fun already, I'll be honest, but being able to do the whole process on my own, I'm really looking forward to it, and I know you guys are going to enjoy watching me wind some yarn. I won't do a long video, but I'm going to cut to that now so that you can see what it was like when I started playing with what I think of as my new knitting toy. So this is the new contraption that I've clamped to the table, and I have concertinaed out to have the skein that I need to wind. And then this is my ball winder, which I had before, but now I can use them together. I think this is gonna be really fun. It's working. Now the last thing I want to show you guys is quite a big bulky thing, so I'm going to pan the camera to it to show you, but it is something that I am beyond excited about getting. I tell you, this is something I have wanted for years, not just for my sewing, but I will tell you it will come in extremely handy with my sewing. Hopefully you can see what's going on here. I have got a full-length mirror. It is huge, guys. So handy. I think a full length mirror is one of those things that if you have one, you totally take it for granted, which I think is completely reasonable. Who needs to get that excited about it? But when you don't have one, you really wish that you did. Not just people who sew, I mean, anyone who is getting dressed can appreciate the value of seeing themselves in a full length mirror to check that their whole outfit works together, that they're looking put together. I have for years just been working with this small mirror that I've got on my bedside table, and I've been trying to, you know, tuck myself up and down, stand on my bed to check the length of things. It is no good hemming something with anything other than a full-length mirror, guys, but I've been doing it for a long time, and now I feel like my sewing life is gonna change. I am so excited to have a full-length mirror, to be able to check that things are accurately lining up without me having to hunch and bend, squat over to make sure that they're looking appropriate. I feel like it's gonna be just such a time saver, and it's just gonna make my sewing so much neater and crisper, being able to check it accurately with a full-length mirror. I would love to hear what Christmas gifts you guys got, if you got anything that was sewing related. I am always on the hunt for more ideas for future birthdays and Christmases and everything, so please let me know in the comments down below. If you have seen anything that I have gotten and you're a little bit more interested in it and you want to know more, let me know. I can definitely give you updates on how these things go as I'm working with them. But I feel like it's been a really lovely festive season just on the whole, and getting all these lovely sewing and knitting gifts was just like the icing on the cake. If you enjoyed my video and want to follow along on my sewing journey, make sure that you are subscribed down below. Give me a like if you liked my video today, and I will see you all before long. Bye!